Good. Hello, and welcome to In the Tradition. I'm David Linton from WCLK, Atlanta's jazz station, and we're getting ready for the 45th annual Atlanta Jazz Festival, which is brought to you by the Mayor's Office of Cultural Affairs. It's been quite some time since we've been able to get together and have some fun in Piedmont Park because of something called the pandemic. Well, we are going to have a great time. And one of the reasons we're going to have a great time is because we're going to be able to hear the lovely, talented sounds of Miss Kathleen Bertrand, who's my guest today. How are you doing, Kathleen?
I'm great. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. Now, for people who don't know, if they've been living under a rock or something, Kathleen is a recording artist and writer. She's a native of Atlanta, uh, an alumna of Spelman College, HBCU
Yes.
proud. She's performed all around the world. Some of her performances have included two Olympic Games before two presidents, as well as appearances at a jazz festival worldwide. She's also toured and recorded with one of my heroes, musically speaking, and that's Mr. Roy Ayers. We call him Uncle Roy around here at WCLK.
Mhm.
She has a three-octave vocal range, and she's been at Montreux Jazz Festival in Switzerland on three different occasions. And she's also written songs, and we'll get more into all of the great things. She's worked with artists that I've had the opportunity to work with during my career: Ray Charles, Rochelle Farrell, Kenny G, and Will Downing, and so many others. She's seen the world because of her great gift, and she's going to share that gift with all of you. If you come down to Piedmont Park on that Sunday, May 30th, it's going to be a great day. Oh, is that the 29th? One of those days. I don't get it.
Monday.
Monday. That's right. Monday. That's right. You know why Monday? Because you save the best for last. That's the closer. that's what we
Okay.
that's what we do. That's what we do around here. So Kathleen, welcome once again to In the Tradition.
Thank you.
Share with our audience. We're going to talk more about your career and the great things that you've done musically, but every time I talk to someone recently, you really kind of want to know, what have you been doing over these past 2 years as an artist where you really couldn't get out and perform your craft in front of the people that you love to perform for. So what have you been doing?
Okay. Well, thank you for this opportunity. And during the pandemic, I think all of us kind of reached into our inner creative selves during that period of, especially those first early months that were so quiet. So I cooked a lot, and I'd like to say I ate a lot, but I didn't really eat that much. I was just trying to get back into that space of cooking food and not going out. Creatively speaking, I really never stopped working because there were different kinds of platforms that would allow you to sing with an instrumentalist. So I did several things for my church, Cascade United Methodist Church. And about 4 months into the pandemic, I started getting different kinds of calls to collaborate with people online, and I wound up doing a couch concert for AARP Georgia during that first year of the pandemic, which brought together myself and a sound engineer, videographer. Kenny Banks was on keyboards. Trey Gilbert was on bass, and we did a full 1 hour or more concert because people couldn't be at home. I mean, because we were at home and people
Right,
couldn't get out.
right.
And so I think what the pandemic did, in addition to us, as I said, allowing us to touch our more creative side, it also made us find different ways to work together with people that we had not worked with before, or it might have enhanced relationships with people that we were used to working with. And just a very reflective time in my life. I finished a book and started another for a book series that I'm working on for children. So, again, just being creative in all things.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I think, like you said, the pandemic did have some upsides. It let us tap into some things about ourselves that we didn't know we were capable of. It gave us a period of discovery. if you
Yes.
will. So,
Good. That was good. That was a good way to put it.
and so we
Yes.
were able to discover some things. And like you said, collaboration. Um, how was that collaborating virtually with, even though you may not have been in the same room and being on Zoom or whatever platform, like we're using a platform now, you know,
Yes.
how was that? How were you able, because music is so personal, and especially when you're live, you get the energy from the musicians on stage. How were you
Yes.
able to create that energy to provide the great performances? Because I actually saw one of them, the ARP thing.
Yes.
How does that happen?
Well, I get music, I get energy from the music regardless. Certainly, live is an energy that comes from the person that's creating it and their presence and my presence all together. So that's one thing. But when I'm hearing it in my ear and I know who's created the music, I can definitely be in the moment and be with the music. So, in the case of doing things, I'll give an example for my church. Kenny Banks is someone that I've worked with both at Cascade United Methodist Church and in several of my appearances. He's co written some of my songs, he's on several of my CDs. And so we have a natural relationship that's there. And so when Kenny is creating a song for me to do for church, we talk about it ahead of time. We get the key right. We get the tempo right. We just do all those things that we would do if we were live. And then he sends me a recording. And when you see the recording, he is as much into the music in recording it as I would be in singing it. So I can give it no less. So, in each of the instances where I've had to collaborate with other musicians virtually, it's been fine. It's all a matter of centering. I like to always talk about centering
Mhm.
and being in the moment with the music. I don't care what the medium is, I can give it 100%. And that's what I would try to do.
Well, that's interesting that you say that, because technology did, even before the pandemic, technology kind of changed the way we would record and listen to music. I know myself as a broadcaster, a programmer, or even as a music executive. You'd have artists now sending you DATs, and back in the term, remember that term DATs?
I remember that. Yes.
And you'd be listening to songs, and people would be all
Yes.
over, and you hear a piece here, and you send an instrumental place here, and somebody makes it down. So the pandemic actually, I think musicians may have had a little a head start in that regard. Like you said, you were able to rely on some of those past experiences to weave into a new form of creativity. So tell us, we're talking about the Atlanta Jazz Festival. You are a home girl, as they say. You're from Atlanta. You're an alumna of Spelman College. How is it you performed all over the world, but how is it different when you perform at home in the historic Piedmont Park?
Oh my goodness. It's everything. I have performed at the Jazz Festival on so many occasions, both at Piedmont Park and for concerts that they've done at uh, Ch- Chastain Park. I know it has a different name now. Sorry, I don't know what it is, but um, there were several years when, to open the Jazz Festival weekend, the Jazz Festival would have a great event at Chastain Park. And so in those instances, I opened for Kenny G and I opened for Ray Charles in his last appearance in Atlanta. So that was just magnificent. And I would say the same thing is for Piedmont Park. I went to what was then called Grady High School, right across the street from Piedmont Park. So it has been a part of my life, my entire life in Atlanta. And to be on that stage is nothing short of amazing. First, because of the hometown support. I have so many friends that are regulars every year, never miss the Jazz Festival. And then I have lots of new friends and followers that always come out. And I remember when I was on stage the year that Roy was there, I came on stage right before Roy. And this was one of the first years that we were back in Piedmont Park. because there had been a year when we could not have the jazz festival in the park. I think they were refurbishing and resodding and all of those things. And so to be back at Piedmont Park for the jazz festival, and I look out on that stage, and there were people as far as the eye could see. Every hill, the furthest place you could possibly imagine in the park, and there were people back there. And it was just a wonderful, glorious feeling. I'm hoping that I can remember to take my cell phone camera on stage with me so I can get one audience picture, because I didn't have that. That I wish I had captured just how beautiful that was for me as a performer. And I have performed on the Jazz Festival stage when it faced a different direction. And now when it faces the way that it does face, I've performed in just about every time slot. I don't think I've ever been a 1 o'clock, but certainly a two, three, or four, five, six, seven. I've done them all, and I'm so grateful for all of those opportunities to that I've had to share my music, not only doing some covers, but really beginning to share the gifts that I had as a songwriter. And the Atlanta Jazz Festival has always given me that
Well,
opportunity.
you talk about that feeling. It was a great feeling. It had to be because it inspired you to write a song. It's
Yes,
called
yes, yes,
Jazz
yes.
in Piedmont Park.
Jazz at Piedmont
And
Park. That's right. And that came exactly from being on stage, looking at people. It's just like, oh my God, look at this. That was the 2010 Jazz Festival was what inspired me to write that song. That came out in 2011. And so then that year 2012, when I'm seeing all these people, we had a chance to actually sing to the people that inspired the
well,
song.
I will say I am not a native of Atlanta, but I have had
Yeah.
Georgia ties for a long time. Married a Georgia peach, but
See,
um,
that right there.
but
That right
I
there.
knew that because as program director of WCLK, I go through our library and I found that song, and and you just between now and you're going to hear it probably between now and the jazz festival because it's such a great it's a really a great composition, and now to
Thank
understand
you.
what was the motivation of it gives me different
Yes.
perspective when I hear it, because like you said, we've
Thank
not there was a period when you couldn't go because one renovations. Now because of the pandemic. So I'm almost sure you're gonna give that song a little life when you 'cause people see you next at the end of the month. You gotta give it for it.
I
You
sure
gotta
hope
do
so.
that one. That's almost like
Oh,
that's a request.
absolutely.
We're making a
Absolutely.
request right now for that one.
Absolutely. We would not leave the park without
Well,
that.
if you're just tuning in, if you just stumbled across this by happenstance, we're talking to Kathleen Bertrand, and we're talking about the Atlanta Jazz Festival in the tradition. I'm David Linton from WCLK, Atlanta's jazz station, and we're getting so excited because the Jazz Festival is really a part of the DNA of Atlanta now. I mean, it is a part
Yes,
of
it
the
is.
DNA. This is the 45th
Yes.
annual Jazz Festival, and we're going to be in historic Piedmont Park, and we're talking to one of.
I was at the first
Oh,
jazz
okay,
festival,
yeah,
the very
wow. And
first
so we're
one.
talking with
Yes.
the legendary. I'm going to say legendary because you have done what so many artists have inspired to do over the years. You're a songwriter, as you said. You penned the national theme for the 100 Black Men of America, a song entitled "What They See Is What They'll Be." You also wrote, like you just indicated, you wrote books. You're writing another book, and you're so when I and you're a member of you were giving me the East Point College Park Kumba Award by the East Point College chapter of Delta Sigma Theta, um, the inaugural Impact Award from Black Women in Jazz. So, in recognition by the United Negro College Fund as one of Atlanta's legends. So, when I say legendary, I'm not the only one that believes that. Other people have uh, confirmed that, and I'm just reaffirming it. And so, at this point, I always like to find out what inspires an artist. to sing. How did you get into singing? You mentioned your church, so we know there's somewhere in your DNA. But what?
Yes.
Because jazz has always been one instrumental driven, also very male dominated. So tell me how did you find up being a jazz vocalist? Um, you'll sing anything, but your specialty seems to be in that vein. So share with our audience about that.
Yes. And I really love all kinds of music. But I grew up with two older brothers who only played jazz. Now, I was in Catholic school and we had music in school, and I was exposed to just really all kinds of things, including Gregorian chants, which I just came to love. Um, and my brothers were always playing jazz. Miles Davis, Milestones, Kind of Blue, Charlie Mingus, Cannonball Adderley, John Coltrane, Sonny Stitt. I can go on. This was the staple when you walked into our home. If music was playing, more than likely it was one of those artists, very male dominated. And they did not um, listen to many female vocalists. One male vocalist, not Arthur Price, Billy
Yeah,
Eckstein
Billy.
was the one male vocalist I remember hearing, but they really didn't. So the songs were to me by themselves amazing and beautiful. And looking at my point of reference, when I found out, looking at the animated Disney movie, I think it's
Right.
Fantasia, and Cinderella sings "Someday My Prince Will Come," or is it Snow White? I can't remember which one, but that song resonated because I heard Miles Davis play it. And I was like, oh my goodness, it's got words, because I thought it was a Miles Davis song. And I would say the same thing for my favorite things. I grew up listening to John Coltrane. And when I went to the movies to see The Sound of Music, I never realized that it had been a Broadway play that was now a musical, and that John Coltrane had taken this Rodgers and Hammerstein tune and recorded it for his album called My Favorite. I just never knew that, because my point of reference was only Coltrane. My point of reference was only Miles Davis and what I heard. As I grew older, when I was in college, I worked as a disc jockey, announcer. I'm not sure what the current terminology is for WAUC. It was a radio station founded by Lo
Yeah.
Jelks, a WSB television broadcaster. And WAUC you could only hear among the schools of the Atlanta University Center. And I had two radio shows, but my first was Silk and
All right now.
Soul. And I used that show to showcase uh, the voice of the woman in jazz. And so that's when I got exposed to Sarah, to Ella, to I knew of Billie Holiday. I got exposed to Carmen McRae, and so Betty Carter. Oh my goodness, and just so many more women that were singing this amazing music called jazz that I had not heard of previously. So that was how I got into jazz music. My ear was attuned to it. And then when I began to hear the vocal stylings of people like Nancy Wilson, oh, it just stood
Well,
out for me.
well, definitely. You, like I said, it's in your DNA, and it's reflective in your music and your choices, and that your voice and your music has taken you all around the world. Um, you co-produced "Sisters in Song," saluting jazz greatest divas. The fact that you would do that, I guess, it stems from, like you said, this is being such a male-dominated music, at least historically, and so you definitely have carved
Yes.
out your own niche and has done extremely well with it. So tell me now,
Thank you.
it's we're at Piedmont Park. It's it's music has been going all day, and they say, ladies and gentlemen, from Atlanta, Georgia, here is Miss Kathleen Bertrand. What are we going to hear when what is that opening number? Just give us, what are we going to experience when we see you on that stage at Piedmont Park? And we've been dying to see you for this. We've had a drought. So how are you going to, how are you going to whet our musical palates come that Sunday at 7 p.m.?
Well, it's going to be
I
on
can't. I don't know.
Monday.
I see. I can't wait.
So
I'm moving it up. That's just. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm a fan. Okay,
it's
it's
going to be
Monday.
on Monday. So you won't hear my
Monday at
voice
7.
on
That's
Sunday.
right.
But yes, but I'm going to do songs from my songbook. Written a lot of songs over the years with collaborators like Kenny, that I mentioned, or Phil Davis. And so I'll be doing a lot of songs from my own songbook. We do a few covers that are within the CDs I have, but they have different kinds of arrangements. And so we'll be doing some of those. I'm definitely going to do Jazz at Piedmont Park. I'm definitely going to do a song called Don't Let It Die, which is about keeping jazz alive. That's why I did the Sisters in Song shows, to keep the spirit and the sounds of jazz in people's heads, because, you know, I don't want it to die out with my generation. And I want people to just be aware of this great jazz form. And so then I'll be doing songs that I've written, and that's all I can really tell you, because
Okay.
that's
No.
all I can tell you. But those two I'm doing. Oh, I'm going to do a song that's been very popular on WCLK. I didn't write it, but a group called the Dangerfield Newbies recorded it
Yes.
with my voice. And everyone has been just so receptive of that. And that's
That's
Love
right.
from the Sun. And so I'll definitely be
Okay. Now
doing
we're
that
looking
live.
forward to that, and of course, Dangerfield Nimby's features our own Jamal Ahmed, who does the soul of jazz. Now,
Yes.
we've only got a few more
Yes.
minutes left, but you've also, just like you wrote the song for 100 Black Men and being recognized for UNCF, you've also taken your voice and you created a song that came out last year during the 2020 election, that was
Yes.
really, it's a timeless song, and you're going to be hearing it soon on WCLK, if you continue to listen, which I know you are, and that is My Voice, My Vote is My Voice. Tell us a little bit about that song
That's right.
and what inspired you to do that one.
Yes. Well, I had been asked by AARP Georgia to do their couch concert. I mentioned that a
Right.
little earlier. And I was sitting down, literally just writing out words, phrases, because it was a time that needed a song. So we were in rehearsal, and I said to the guys, Kenny and Trey Gilbert, I said to the guys, listen, I have these lyrics and I want to write something. I'm going to call it My Vote is My Voice. And so, can y'all, just give me a line of something musically that I could put these lyrics to? And so Trey started off, we're in rehearsal now. Trey started off with that great funky bass line that you hear. And then Kenny added chords to it. And literally in that space, we created this song. This is 3 hours before we're going live.
All right.
But I had the lyrics. I knew that they could fit, I knew where they could fit, and, edit here and edit there, but I knew that we could make it fit. So that night live, we did My Vote is My Voice the first time. And it was so well received that we actually went back into the studio. We added Lil John Roberts on drums, and the amazing horn arranger Melvin Jones
All
came
right.
in and did the horns for us, and so that it was just a thing.
Right.
And I tried to share it with as many people as I could, because it was so important at that time, and it's so important right now. I'm an advocate for making your voice heard, and this was a way to do it
And
through
so
music.
well, we're going to make sure that the world gets to hear it, because we're going to
Thank you.
continue to play it. Again, we're
Thank you.
preparing. If you're just tuning in, You may have to do the rewind because we're winding down. We've got about 5 minutes left, but we've had the opportunity to talk with Ms. Kathleen Bertrand and talking about the upcoming 45th annual Atlanta Jazz Festival that's going to take place in Piedmont Park and Memorial Day weekend. This is in the tradition, which is a part of the ramp up to the Jazz Festival. And we get an opportunity to speak to some of the people who are going to be performing. Now, how will people, if people want to get in contact with you, learn more about you, how can they do that?
Oh, certainly. I am on Facebook, Kathleen J. Bertrand, and I'm on Instagram, Kathleen Bertrand. And let me just take a quick moment and tell you about the amazing musicians that are going to be on
Yes,
stage with me. I cannot leave without doing that because all of these musicians and vocalists have just been in so many places and spaces across the world. And I'm very honored and thrilled with the energy that's going to be on that stage. Phil Davis is my music director. Phil is a professor at
yes.
Clark Atlanta University, but he's toured and written for some of everybody. And I
Well, yeah,
think you
we make
guys
sure
play
some
his
of his
music as
music is
well.
heard, that's for sure.
Yes, yes, yes. Dr. Derek Scott on guitar. Derek has toured with the nation's finest. Little John Roberts on drums, and Little John has toured with the nation's finest. Names that come to mind immediately: Janet Jackson, Stevie Wonder, George Duke. On horns, Melvin Jones and Mike Burton. And most recently, they played at the Grammys. They played for the Oscars. Any of those big shows, they tend to be called upon. And they were really the first musicians I called even before my music director because I wanted to make sure that they were in town and that we could work this out, right? Also on stage, let me see, I'm going around my vocalist, Kathy Rollins and Ted Jennifer. And those are two amazing vocalists who have been with me for several years performing together, but even longer than that because we sing in the same choir together. And so I just love the sounds of their voices. They are quick learn. If they put something to memory, it's done. And so I think it's going to be exciting to have all of this great energy on stage on Monday, May 30th. And we start at 7, but the whole day is going to be amazing as well. And so anytime that you arrive, I hope that you'll, just come out and stay. My sister in song, Julie
Yes, yes.
Dexter, is at 1 p.m. earlier that day, and she kicks
Well,
off
we
the
will
day.
be there, and we're going to make sure that all the listeners to Atlanta's Jazz Station 91.9 FM know about the date, the time, and we're going to keep them abreast. And we want to thank you again for giving us so much of your valuable time. Uh oh. Okay,
My
okay,
bass
hey.
player,
Yeah, boom, boom. Okay,
Joel
all
Powell,
right.
is on bass with me. And Joel has been around the world as well. In fact, he went to Montreux with me for one of my visits, as did Phil. So it's just a well experienced group. And forgive me, Joel, but I got it
Well,
in.
a world class band for a world class vocalist and talent as yourself. And we're
Thank you.
excited and looking forward to
Thank you.
seeing you at Piedmont Park for the 45th annual Atlanta Jazz Festival, brought to you by the Mayor's Office of Cultural Affairs. On behalf of In the Tradition, I'm David C. Linton for WCLK. We say thank you for joining us. Keep it jazzy, and we'll see you in Piedmont Park.